Welcome to Bro Joe Builds, and some mistakes were made. Being that I only have my phone, I'm going to be bouncing back and forth. You see, the radiator is already out of it. I drained the coolant, and in one of my previous videos, I talked about the timing, scattering, and retarding constantly. And I traced all the wires, and then I pretty much came to determine that most likely the cam is walking forward. And it started to come back to me that we pulled this motor apart again. When the motor originally was built, it went into the Chevette, and it didn't want to fire. Long story short, and I thought was something wrong with the motor. I was really frustrated, and pulled the motor out of the car. And my father actually is the one that he ended up going through it. And as he going through it, I walked by and realized that there was nothing wrong with it. And that's when we determined that and figured out that the whole gas tank, the last batch of gas that I got from the racetrack, was full of water. And that's what happened. I had a bad tank of gas, and it makes totally sense because with the previous motor that was in the car at the track, the car started doing very similar things. It would pop through the car. It just wasn't happy. Long story short, and it ended up pulling this motor apart. Nothing was wrong with it. Slapped it back together. Now the only thing is, I don't know if this timing cover was the original one when I originally built the motor, and I'm not sure if the cam button is in there, that from when we originally built the motor. So pull it apart and make sure that this is right. I ordered a Cloyes timing cover, and it should be here today. So this video is gonna be shot between 2 days, and it's not gonna be step by step because I'm holding my phone, but I'll bring you along and let you know what I find. All right, so at this point, took the damper off, the alternator, and loosen up the oil pan on this car. The way I have it sitting with the motor mount, there's a little spacer plate there. This oil pan pretty much just sits right above the frame. Like I got like, I don't know, a quarter inch, if that, before the pan touches the frame. So I'm gonna have to lift the motor just a little bit, just so that I can get the cover out without hopefully damaging that one-piece gasket. So that's what I'm trying to do. If I get the motor up a little bit, I should be able to drop the front pan just ever so slightly, and should be able to get the timing cover out without damaging the gasket, and then we'll see what we got going on in the timing chain. So a few minutes later, got the hoist on here. We motor jacked up. I got some space, and this should just, let's see, I'm doing this one-handed. All right, and the gasket is still there and in good shape. So I could already see that the cam was definitely walking forward, and the nuts, the bolts were actually, the tabs were actually hitting the cover as well as the button. So long story short, the way that the button setup was not going to work. So mistakes happen. Mistakes were made. Hopefully I'll have a cover here soon, and I'll check everything out here, make sure nothing is going awry. But it looks, chain looks tight, you know, everything looks good. I wonder if I could slide the cam forward or back. But yeah, I looked this over. So yeah, you can see here where the cam was cutting in, and I was like, man, I should have the right timing cover sitting somewhere, and it's dirty sitting in the pile. Yes, I have a pile of timing covers. That's the timing cover that should have been, and you know, it would have solved the problem. But I want to install a Cloyes adjustable one, being that I'll be able to verify the end camshaft end play. I from the last time I recorded, this is actually 2 days have gone by. I haven't done anything else other than tap this camshaft in, and I tapped it in about a 1/4 inch. So the cam was walking forward way too much, and that was definitely what was scaring my timing. The fear is if the cam moves too far forward, you get into the next lobe and catastrophic failure. So no need for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So I'm gonna continue, and I'll probably gonna put both of these timing covers back in my timing cover pile, and probably for the next one, you know, this one will be good for a flat tappet setup, or even I could just put a you know, the cam button on it and whatnot, and weld it like I did with the other one. Oh, collection of cylinder heads and stuff like that. I try to be a little bit more organized in here. Yeah, and a stack of timing covers. So, if you you do this long enough, you stack up on parts, and this is not even a small bit of it. You know, you just real deal, and you keep stacking, and you know, and then that's how you could put stuff together cheap in the long term. So I knocked the cover. So I knocked the seal into the cover. One thing to look into, or two things. One, put a chamfer on where the seal goes. It'll make the seal go in way easier. At least the cover I got had no chamfer, so it was a little bit of a challenge to get the seal started until I put the chamfer in it, and then the seal slid right in. Just a small chamfer, just to help things get started. And the second thing is, you need to test fit this cover to see if this rear part of where the oil pan gasket will sit on, if it hits the block. If it hits the block, you don't have to grind, shave, mill, whatever you can to bring that down so it could fit. So let's I want to test fit it and see how it goes. All right, so this is the test fit, and it sits up there pretty tight. But for me, I think it's clearing for this combination. I mean, at least for my setup. I don't know if I could, if you guys could see. But let me see if I shove my phone in there. No, it's not gonna work. But it's pretty darn close. What I'm gonna do, and the bolts are there flush, and timing cover is flush to the block. So my solution is I'm gonna double gasket it, and I think we'll be fine. So I bolted it back in. The cam retaining plate, I ended up boring the hole a little bit bigger so it doesn't, make sure it didn't interfere with anything. So now I'm gonna bend the tabs, put the cover back on. I put the gasket on over the old gasket. I didn't mess up, so I just put extra bit of goop. And I'll put some goop in the corners, slap the cover on, and we're just gonna send it. I got the cover on with 4 bolts, and before I put the center plate on, I just spun the motor over, make sure the cover isn't touching anything, because the last thing you want is to find out that the chain is hitting the cover or whatnot. You don't have the clearance. That'd be a sad story. So far everything looks good. Now I'll put that center plate on. The instructions say that this is the lock button. You take the lock out, and then there's a flathead screw, and then you put it in there until it touches, and you put the seal on this, and you should be all set. So so when you set it, you know what? Hold on. Okay, so I think it's just better that I just do it with you guys. So at this point, I bolted this plate on, and I turned the motor over, make sure nothing was hitting there. Everything seems good. So now there's this screw, and we're just gonna screw her in until the buttons up onto the cam. So hold on, let me make sure I get a screwdriver that's not gonna fetch up in there. Alright, so it bottomed out, and they say 1/8 a turn out. That's somewhere around there. And you just lock it up, set it, and forget it, like the George Foreman grill. So supposedly the rest of the clearance, with thermal expansion difference between aluminum and cast iron, it will set the recommended, I believe it's 2 to 5 thousandths. I can't remember off the top of the head, but the clearance for your camshaft forward and back will be there. So that's it. I'll button the rest of this up, and the next part of this video will hopefully be the car running and the timing staying right in place. All right, so smoked out my garage a little bit, but timing's rock solid. If it's our timing issue, this thing's gonna fly. Now, next thing I need to fix is the fuel system. So the next video we see on this Nova, I'll be straightening out the fuel system, and then we'll work on brakes, and then hopefully for the first week of May, we're gonna be out there and seeing what this thing can do. So I'm very happy right now. Um, yeah, I can't wait to see what this is gonna do. So, Brojo Bills, please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell.